Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's still quite windy out there this afternoon and into this evening in the south, and we've all got some further rain or showers to come through the rest of today. This area of low pressure has been bringing the really strong winds across the south of the UK on Saturday, but now we turn our attention towards the north and the west where we've got this wiggling weather front that will move in for Sunday. So another windy evening to come across the English Channel coastal regions, but the winds will slowly ease as we go into the course of tonight. The showers will also tend to become a little bit more confined to more northern and eastern parts of the UK, particularly northeast Scotland, with some heavier rain returning into Northern Ireland later in the night. But for most it will turn a bit drier and temperatures won't fall away too far, so they'll hold up into double figures for many of us as we go into the overnight hours. Now for tomorrow, Sunday actually dawns on a fairly bright note for many eastern areas. Some early morning sunshine for eastern England, the East Midlands and East Anglia. Further west though, thicker cloud, bits and pieces of light rain or the odd shower for parts of Wales. Some drizzly outbreaks across northern England over the Pennines too, and perhaps some longer spells of heavy rain for Northern Ireland and southwest Scotland. Further north and west, well, a big mixture of cloud and showers basically for northwest Scotland. Brighter skies though, at least initially for Aberdeenshire and Moray. As we go through the course of Sunday, it turns increasingly wet for parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. The rain, a bit kind of showery in nature, will also start to come into parts of North Wales and northwest England. And here it will be quite a breezy day, so the potential for winds to get quite close to gale force in some exposed coastal regions. Higher temperatures though than on Saturday, perhaps reaching 23 or 24 in the best of any brightness in the south and the east. The rain continues to make its way erratically and quite slowly south and eastwards on Sunday evening, so turning wet for some parts of the Midlands and central parts of the UK. As we go into Sunday night, a fairly wet day to come in the south on Monday, and generally a changeable week ahead with showers or longer spells of rain.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
£76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
All too often, people will be sitting at home watching a press conference live, and they'll hear loads of questions being asked, and they'll be thinking, that's not my question. That's not my concern.
We don't care whose feathers we ruffle. We ask the questions that you want answering.
You're all standing on the street protesting and wanted to have an open discussion.
My name's Patrick Christie's. I do a show for GB News in the UK. Is it possible to talk to you quickly?
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, this is the best view ever of Whitehall, looking out across all the tractor drivers of England who've come together to make their point.
Hello, so as you can see, I'm here in Westminster as the protest begins.
Yes, I'm very much in the thick of it.
Look, we're challenging narratives here at GB News, and that's what sets us apart.
It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. I'm Darren Grimes, along with Will Kingston. We've got Dr. Renee, Trey Lowe, and Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show,
I will expose Lord Hermer's lies.
70 MPs show us their contempt for women.
silent stormer JD Vance is absolutely right.
Sir Yusuf hits a new low.
And my message to MAGA's political arsonists, take your divisive trash elsewhere.
Oh, it's 6 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. Welcome to the Saturday 5. Now, do comment along all show, gbnews.com, your say, because Renee collects your views and she goes through them. Like, you know those people that go on beaches and scan and with a fine-tooth comb, they look for shells and all kinds of beauty.
Down. Before another witticism, I want to cover off the elephant in the room here, which we haven't discussed for the last few weeks. That you are the father who leaves for a pack of cigarettes, doesn't come back for years, and then suddenly emerges back in their children's life without actually any explanation, just wanting to have a roll again. We haven't actually processed the pain that you put us through. We haven't talked about how you left us under the tyrannical regime of Alex Armstrong. There's been no explanation. You're just kind of back in the middle of the table again.
And
you haven't talked about it.
Do you know, Will, I'm going to do exactly what my father did and totally ignore that. Of course, my friends, please do, as I say, send your views and post your comments. gbnews.com/your say. Don't forget your questions for Ask the Five. There's no topics off limits. But before we start tearing each other apart, it's your Saturday night news with the Geordie legend, Bethany Elsey.
Thanks very much. Good evening. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 6:01. 4 more men have admitted charges of violent disorder after police came under attack during protests in response to Henry Novak's death. Clashes erupted between protesters and police in Southampton on Tuesday over the 18-year-old student's treatment by police. The teenager was handcuffed while he lay dying in the street after his killer falsely claimed he'd been racially abused by him. 11 people have been charged in relation to the disorder, in which 11 Hampshire police officers and a police dog were injured. Meanwhile, Downing Street has accused JD Vance of trying to stir up division after he blamed what he calls the mass invasion of migrants for Henry's murder. His family have repeatedly said they don't want his death to be used to create further division. The businessman David Sullivan has resigned as chairman of West Ham with immediate effect. The 77-year-old says he's leaving the role after 16 years to fight what he calls false allegations about his private life. It's after he was made aware of the upcoming publication of serious historic allegations. Mr. Sullivan says he categorically denies the claims. He's been the club's largest single shareholder since the death of his business partner, David Gold, in January 2023. Some of the last surviving D-Day veterans have been commemorating the 82nd anniversary of D-Day. Nearly 160,000 troops were involved in the Allied invasion of northern France in World War II, laying the foundations for victory over Nazi Germany in 1944. This year's events are the first since almost 100 more names were added to the British Normandy Memorial, which lists the troops who died in the campaign. The King's nephew, Peter Phillips, has married Harriet Spurling, an NHS paediatric nurse, in the Gloucestershire countryside. Members of the public who gathered outside All Saints' Church in Kemble cheered as the bride arrived. The King and Queen, Prince and Princess of Wales and the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh all attended, as well as the groom's mother, Princess Anne. Princess Beatrice and Eugenie were also there. It's the first time the sisters have been seen together at a royal event since their father's arrest. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor no longer attends public events with the royal family. It's understood Meghan and Harry were not invited. And in tennis, Mira Andreeva has won the women's singles title at the French Open, securing her first ever Grand Slam. The 19-year-old Russian's 6-3, 6-2 victory makes her the youngest women's champion in Paris since Monica Seles back in 1992. Andreeva, who's landed 9 successive wins, is also the first Russian female Grand Slam singles champion since Maria Sharapova 12 years ago. Those are your latest headlines. I'll have more for you at 7 o'clock.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
My friends, it's Saturday night and you're with the Saturday Five. Over the next 3 hours, we've got the biggest debates, the hottest topics and entertaining interviews. We're going to crack on with tonight's first debate. Actually, before I get on to that, Richard says, I suppose Kai is going to want the beaver on banknotes.
Well, yes. You read my mind, Richard. You read my mind.
I guess, Richard, it depends what beaver you're talking about.
Indeed. Well, either way, I'm beaver agnostic. The campaign, however, my friend, starts here.
All right, my friends. Now, this week, America's J.D. Vance looked across the Atlantic at us and said something that has sent Westminster into meltdown, and actually members of this panel. Our American cousins have warned that ideological conditioning and two-tier policing are symptoms of civilizational decline. Henry Novak did die the way a civilization dies. He was abandoned, he was bound, he was falsely accused of being something he wasn't. And our great and good, well, they've lost their minds, great and good, yeah, they wish. Interference, they screamed. Sir Keir Starmer, Ed Davey, David Lammy, more offended by an American tweet than a teenager on a Southampton street. And spare us the hypocrisy. These people, right, they clap like gormless performance seals when Barack Obama wades into a Brexit debate, but they lecture us with sanctimony and the Americans about their policing after George Floyd. But when America notices that there's something rotten here in Blighty, well, it's outrageous foreign meddling. You cannot possibly do that. No, my friends, it's a warning from a friend who recognises how important Britain has been to them and to the rest of the Western world. And today, of all days, we need to remember that. 82 years ago, young men from our island stepped out of landing craft in Normandy. Boys whose lives had barely begun. They did it. Well, not for paperwork, for process, for slogans, for DEI seminars. They went for home, the church bells, the village green, the terrace street, the gran at the window, the pub light at closing time. For the right of every Englishman, Scot, Welshman, Ulsterman to stand before the law as a citizen, not as a racialised group. That was the inheritance that was handed to every single one of us on this panel tonight. A civilization made of sacrifice, duty, memory and mercy. It's bought in blood and handed to us in trust. So how dare we have let activists with clipboards teach us to despise everything about it? J.D. Vance is right, and the tragedy, my friends, isn't that America can see it and say it. The tragedy is that the political pygmies governing Britain can't.
But they can, though, Darren. That's the thing, and that's what makes this even more sad. They can see it, but they just don't want to act. The fact of the matter is, if it wasn't for prominent Americans, we would be talking about the rape gangs far less. We may not be talking about Henry Novak at all. The Chagos Islands would now be in Mauritian hands. Like, do I think it is ideal that we need people like Musk and JD Vance to start to raise these issues? No, of course I don't think it's ideal. I would prefer that we had this government actually... Oh, geez, that's Darren actually speaking to me right here on the laptop, two Darrens. Do I think it is ideal? No, I don't.
Many people would pay a lot of money for that sort of thing.
There is a vested interest from this government in not talking about these issues because they are complicit in causing each and every one of them. So until we have transparency, which we won't have whilst there are people that have a vested interest in actually maintaining the status quo, I say speak up, JD Vance and Elon Musk.
OK, Trey?
Do you know what I find actually a little bit sad about all of this is the way that Henry's father actually asked for this not to be used in a divisive way. I mean, you even mentioned veterans. You know how many Sikhs fought and died for this country? Do you know how many Indians fought and died for this country? I mean, migrants have been giving their lives for this country for a long, long time. They're not some mass threat to this country. I mean, this guy was born here like I was born here. Am I a threat? You know, am I part of some sort of invasion? Wait, I haven't finished. And then the second thing is this. Thank God that JD Vance's approval rating in the UK is so low, because who cares what he thinks?
Well,
what we need to care about is this. This is what we need to care about. The police training was so absolutely awful that they watched a defenceless young man bleed to death. And that's what the focus should be. It should be looking at the training behind that.
The focus
that is the focus. I need to stop you now, because what you are doing, as Darren said, is gaslighting us, because you're doing exactly what the left have done all week, actually, to say, oh, you know, Henry's parents don't want us to talk about this, which is an excellent way of shutting it down.
It isn't.
But yes, it is.
No,
because...
They're not to be used
Can
for
I finish?
hate.
Can I
Very
finish?
different.
Stop shutting down debate like the left always does.
Yeah.
Here we go.
The second thing is to say that the police training was so lax. Why was it so lax? It was so lax because they were actually trained to treat people with white skin differently to someone with brown skin. Even when that boy had died on the street, they didn't handcuff the man with brown skin. They took him in the car. They didn't handcuff him. They took him down to the canteen without handcuffs to choose his food. They treated him entirely different to the white dying boy on the street. And actually, division is good when it highlights bad and good. And this is what we're doing.
Briefly come back to this. Do you know how many black men have died in police custody? I mean, that was the most
I know
famous
we still
case.
get down on one knee for one of them in football matches.
To be honest, I think we should just avoid America, what happens there. But the amount of black men that have died in police custody, where the police have watched them, there was a famous case.
This is called what
there
about?
There was a famous case. No, it's not a what about. It just shows that the police have done it more than once, where people have died in custody.
Let me ask a question on that then. Did the British state train police officers to do that to that black man?
That's the key point.
Did they what? Train him?
Train him. Train the police officers to treat that black man like he ought to be treated differently.
Listen, there's some reports, and lots of reports show that there was lots of institutional racial bias that happened.
Yeah.
That's just a fact.
And now the pendulum has swung so far the other way.
Potentially, but this case hasn't yet been investigated to establish the case. People have just been making up their own reasons as to why it happened.
OK, I want to bring Kai in, because Kai, the Downing Street have hit back, right, and they've accused the Vice President of interfering in our democracy and stirring division.
Yeah.
Is that your view?
Yes. Can I just say, this discussion's really interesting, right? Because what you started getting into discussing the police training and all of these issues, that's not what JD Vance was talking about, was it? And
that was. And two-tier policing, yes, it was.
Well, yeah, but when he talks about the mass invasion of migrants and using that as a political tool to blame this tragedy on, that's where you start to see what I believe is actually the real cynicism of things like this that JD Vance is doing. Well, can I just make the argument before you say no? Because what I think, because people can see through this, I think, right? If he and Elon Musk the same, if they had genuine concern about some of these issues, rather than trying to whip up hate and division, whether or not we agree with JD Vance, and I think many of us would agree that there has been a total failure of policing in this country, and that there are instances of two-tier policing, but by trying to make this about migration and trying to muddy the waters and trying to make it a political tool that prioritises the answers that reform and restore have over actually coming to grasp with the solutions that we might
It's a very interesting point you make. But actually, it is about mass migration. Everybody on the left today has been saying, oh, he's got it totally wrong. This man was born in the UK. That wasn't what he was saying.
No.
He was saying that the tension that is felt on the streets by people, many of them white working-class men, has been fuelled by mass migration. And this is where it leads when our institutions are told to treat those very white working-class men as inferior to the brown
But this is also where it leads when you have people like J.D. Vance, people like Elon Musk, using the US state platform and using the power of the US state to meddle in UK domestic affairs, not to have an honest discussion about whether DEI training and so on is causing these kind of two-tier incidents. That's not the kind of healthy discourse that J.D. Vance is after. What he's after is more incidents like this, more people on the streets, and civil unrest that puts his people in power.
OK, there's no evidence for that, and I can't...
Well, there is. It's called the National Security Strategy of the United States government.
Stop. We need to call out this hate and division rhetoric from people like Trey and Kai on the left. This is a very easy way to say, you know what, shut up until people forget about this story and everyone suddenly moves on to something else. It is a way of skirting accountability. I hate to break it to you, Kai, but this country is already deeply divided. Nigel Farage didn't bring the division. The division is here and it's been here for some time. To say, oh, well, we all need to stand together now, that is not realistic. What's realistic is we need to talk about uncomfortable truths about how this country is already falling apart at the seams.
And the substance of what I said, Kai, if you accept that there was any, which is debatable, his view, I imagine. But in suggesting that you did, do you actually think that J.D. Vance calling for righteous anger is right? Because I do feel righteous anger. I do feel anger that a boy could be dying on the streets like that, and just because he was white and working class, they turned around and said he must have done it. He must be a racist.
What I worry about, Darren, honestly, I think we can all feel anger and deep shame as well about what's happened. But I worry that in a situation where people don't trust their institutions, where they don't believe maybe that protesting works, I worry that trying to make that point and calling for anger, like we saw on January 6th, by the way, leads people down a violent path. And I think that is, frankly, his intention.
So stop doing what Will says, which is what the left do every single time, and stop letting us have the debate. You keep shutting down the debate. You shut down speech and expression.
In what way? How?
Thugs. You tell them that the grooming gangs, you cover all that up for years and years and then tell us when we notice that we're racist for noticing. The whole thing is preposterous. For decades, what the left has done to this country.
I don't know if you're referring to me, the left. I've sat here more than once and I hate the fact that you've got... I care about the victims. I don't care what race the perpetrator is.
Yes, but I disagree with you, Trey, on
again and again. In the same way in this...
You think that anyone with a certain skin colour is naturally more likely to be a victim than other people.
Where did I say that? How did I say that? No, I didn't. I'm talking about the stats.
People who go through
because the stats don't support a two-tier system where whites are somehow treated worse.
Well, it
doesn't. Black people are much more likely to be incarcerated. They have longer sentences in the exact same police consider.
Why do you put that down to racism?
Listen, in Hampshire police, people are 5 times more likely to be stopped if they're black.
Why do you put that down to racism?
Clearly, it's not everywhere. Sorry.
Why do you put that down to racism?
I didn't say it was racism. I've not ever said racism. I don't use the word racism. So black people are 5 times more likely to be criminals.
They are.
Here we go. Yeah, just like Ethiopians are 10 times or 20 times, whatever the stat that came up.
Yes, that is also a stat.
Centre for Migration Control just happens to work with reform.
Facts don't care about your feelings, Trey.
No, but they're not facts. If you were to break down some of these stats, they're absolute nonsense. It's nonsense.
So to be clear, do you think that all cultures commit crimes at exactly proportionate rates? Do you think they're all exactly the same?
I think a lot of race stats don't take in everything. Let me give you... Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way.
No, do it my way. Do it my way first. Do it my way first, and then we can do it your way. No, stop. And stop talking over me.
A show of hands. Who here has been stopped and searched?
Hang on.
But who else has been stopped and searched? I probably have been the only one here that's been stopped and searched. Now, if you stop and search people enough, you're going to find things. Some people don't get treated the same way. And in fact, crime isn't even about race. It's about class more than anything. Class is the actual defining principle when it comes to crime statistics. Not necessarily colour, class.
But do you know, if someone did stop and search me, though, Trey, I would be absolutely delighted.
Have you ever been stopped and searched?
No, I haven't.
Exactly.
But
I've been stopped and searched over 100 times.
Yes.
This whole thing about a two-tier system. And I've got no problem with it. I'm not claiming racism. I think the police are amazing.
Have you ever been charged?
Of course I've not been charged.
Have you ever killed
anyone? But the fact I've been stopped... No, I haven't.
Right. So did it do you any harm?
What? You think it's OK to have a system where some people get stopped and searched more than others?
in London, which is where you live,
Okay.
if black men carry out 10 times more knife crime than white men, then yes, they should be justifying stopping and
That's
searching.
knife crime. So what about people who never get stopped for Class A drugs?
Look,
There's lots of that. No one
I
gets
have a
stopped for that.
brown son who's
Do you
been
know-
stopped constantly.
Yeah,
But
and
see,
I'm with the mothers, Renee, that say, you know, I'm delighted that stop and search happens in London because they have grown up and experienced the gang warfare that takes parts in parts of London and don't want their children to suffer the same fate.
Sure, which is great. But what I'm saying in answer to Will's point is not every single person gets stopped and treated the same way. That is a fact. There are lots of people that do things like Class A drugs who are fueling a devastating system.
OK, we'll come back to this topic a bit later on because I think there's more to go at here. But first of all, before we do that, it's time for the Great British Giveaway, and I've got to try and say this number again. And the time is ticking on our chance to win our big cash prize of £76,000 and something else. It's totally tax-free and you'll get every single penny of it. Make sure you don't miss out. Hayley Sparks has all the details.
We're here at the Imperial Island Resort in Paphos to celebrate the chance to enjoy your most spectacular summer to date. Someone has to win our stunning cash prize of £76,543.21, and that person really could be you. Imagine all of the fun you could have this year with that. You could treat the family, treat your friends, make it a super summer for everyone you know. Or just enjoy a bit of me time, safe in the knowledge all those day-to-day financial stresses have been taken care of. £76,543.21 in totally tax-free cash could be yours in time for summer. Just make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 26th of June.
For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Right, Will, what have you got coming up?
Yeah, sometimes we skirt around honesty on TV, Darren, words like misleading or untruths. No, I'm going to say that Lord Herman lied. He lied about Reform's policy on illegal migrants. It's shameful and I'm going to expose him for it after the break.
Ooh.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. It was like a wham bam thank you ma'am, that advert break, wasn't it? We're back already. We couldn't believe it. Guys chomping at the bit.
You need to get out more.
To get stuck in.
Am I? I was doing my hair.
To Will. Now, please get in contact at GBNews. I nearly said Will.
I haven't got that desperate just yet.
You'll see, and get your questions in for Ask the Five. Thank you very much for all of your messages so far. We're going to get in to some of those in just a second, my friends. Now, on Saturday 13th of June, the whole country is going to unite for Troop in the Colour, the official birthday of His Majesty the King. We would like to invite you to join us here in the studio from 10 a.m. for a special programme filled with all the pomp and ceremony of one of the year's biggest royal events. To apply for tickets, you can scan the QR code on your screen or visit gbnews.com/tickets. Right, now it's time to unleash the Willy. Will, what have you got for us?
Well, a matter of great importance, Darren. All politicians are economical with the truth. It annoys me, but it is a reality. What really infuriates me is when that economy with the truth is laced with hypocrisy and moral sanctimony. On a related note, this is Lord Hermer discussing reforms of legal immigration policy.
So what reform and the Tories have to answer is, well, what would you do? You wouldn't be able to have deals with France and Germany because they are contingent upon being members of it.
Well, I tell you what they say they do. They say they'd round people up on the beaches and send them somewhere else.
Well, I think what they mean by that is they let people drown in the water, and that is not a British way to deal with it. That is not commensurate with our values.
This is not true. No Reform MP has said this. It is not Reform policy. It cannot be inferred that this would be a consequence of any policies that Reform have put out. But let's look at this incredibly misleading comment, and I would say a morally reprehensible comment from Lord Hermer, in the context of Labor for the last week lecturing us about divisive and inflammatory rhetoric. And as they lecture us on divisive and inflammatory rhetoric, they have their Attorney General, who, by the way, should be focusing on legal issues in an impartial way, come out and say that his opposing party wants to see illegal migrants drown in the English Channel. I can't possibly think of more inflammatory or divisive rhetoric if I possibly tried. But there is a bigger hypocrisy even than that. And that is that Labor's open border policies have led to lives being lost and the proliferation of sexual assault and child abuse in this country on a mass scale. And yet they will have you believe that they're the humanitarian ones, that they're the good guys. The old knowledge that I saw in Australia is very, very clear. Leftists will have this playbook that says if you have open border policies, you're the kind and humane ones, when really you are making sure that more and more people risk their lives in dinghies, and you are risking the lives of women and children when these people end up getting to the country. The policies of reform, and indeed all the right-wing parties, will mean that less lives are lost. Don't believe this morally abhorrent gaslighting from Lord Hermer. These guys are not the good guys, and he's the worst of a bad bunch.
All right, Kai, you're a yearner for Hermer?
A yearner for Hermer. No, look, I think that comment is wrong. To try and say that reform want people to die in the Channel, as obviously anybody can agree, is not true. But the fact is, well, the policies of reform and restore, for instance, and the Tories in some instances, the logical conclusion of that, if it was ill thought through and not well done, and the reason why even quite hard to the right immigration ministers under Conservative governments have not proposed these, is that more migrants die at sea.
Why?
In Italy and Greece,
Why?
when pushback operations took place, contrary to the ECHR, that resulted, and still results, I think, in drownings. Now, the difference between us and Italy and Greece is that the Channel is one of the most dangerous crossings in the world. It is an incredibly cold environment for people to be drowning in. There was a November 2021 incident where British and French forces disagreed over responsibility over dinghy that meant that 27 migrants died while they dithered. And this is only going to get worse if we leave and renege on our international obligations, because you think that the French don't work with us now. Well, like hell will they work with us if we leave all these treaties that mean we are able to work with them.
Yep. Renee, very quick right of reply, sorry. I don't care about the French. This is very simple. This is an issue of mathematics. If you have disincentives in place, you reduce the total amount of people that want to get on dinghies and come across the Channel. That means there is a less number of people that can possibly die, and that number will go down to close to zero, which is more than the hundreds that currently come across the day. It is statistically impossible that a reform policy could lead to more deaths than what we currently see.
No, the Labour Party and its policies around the pull factors, they're trying to tackle those already, as you know. But also this idea, just one throwaway comment that really exemplifies just how badly reality is going to strike when if reform come into government. I don't care about the French. It's just such a nonsense thing to say. It shows that you haven't thought through your policy idea.
You have had
don't
your
know what
say.
you're talking about.
All right. The crux of Will's monologue here, though, is Labour using something to actually say something that is misrepresenting what was actually said. And it's not the first time Labour have done this, and they do it repeatedly still. They repeatedly say that reform plan to privatise the NHS. I can tell you, because I helped write some of their health policy, that is a lie. They know it's a lie. They've been picked up on it all of the time. But they've said, oh, well, once Nigel Farage said he was in favour of an insurance system. So they are trying to just muddy the waters around everything that their biggest rivals are saying. And then they come out today, and I thought it was really interesting that Hermer said, this is not the British way. This is not commensurate with our values. This is obviously a new line of Labour's. And I don't think that my British way or my values concur with Labour's in any way, shape or form. So every time I hear them say that, alongside them muddying the waters around everything else, I lose just a little bit more respect for them, if that's even possible.
Do you know what I was reminded of over recent days? I was reminded that Siobhan White, who is the mother of Rhiannon White, who was murdered by a hotel migrant, an illegal migrant, at the hotel that she worked at. And I was struck that the Labour government haven't met Siobhan White, but have met, after obviously great public scrutiny and attention, the family of Novak. Now, to me, it smacks of a government that only acts. It's a government that acts by Twitter, Trey. And I worry that actually this comment here is also, speaking to a BBC audience, a comment made for Twitter.
Yeah, and exactly. And I actually would condemn a comment like that, because as far as I know, Reform obviously have got some sort of formal policy that would allow people to join. I do think it's sort of a bit dirty tricks to a certain extent. but it's a natural extension of this culture war that we find ourselves in. Everyone seems to be fanning flames left, right, and centre, and no one's really looking at real solutions.
You're right about the culture war, but do you know why we're here in the culture war? We're here in the culture war because we have categorised people since the Equality Act by their protected characteristic. And what that does is it divides society because people look at other groups with their protected characteristics and feel they're being treated favourably. They have created this culture war, and they now don't like the fact that some of us are saying, no, we're not playing this game.
But you must think some of the basis of this actually does make sense. Rights for women, rights for certain minorities, etc.
I don't think people should
must be, in principle, in favour of it.
Are you for rights for women, Renee?
I would get rid of the Equality Act.
Yes, so would I.
Oh, yes, I would too. Not rights for women.
No.
So can we draw the line at rights for gays?
Don't worry, you'll be next, probably.
What about beavers?
Beavers will rule the country under my government.
They'll do a better job, probably.
Okie dokie. Right. A spokesman for the Attorney-General has stated, my friends, the Attorney-General repeatedly argues that this government has a steely determination to tackle illegal immigration, and this is not in tension with upholding our human rights obligations. The attorney also makes clear his concern about how some on the hard right are using dehumanising rhetoric about migrants, and that this is not the British way. Well... Coming up, we'll bring you our best triggered tantrums of the week.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're heading away this weekend, well, you've picked a good time as high pressure dominates much of Europe. Lots of sunshine, mostly dry as well. Across the Canary Islands, temperatures climbing towards the high 20s, a little bit fresher in Madeira. But for Portugal, much of Spain, as well as Italy, as we look towards parts of Greece and Turkey too. High pressure dominates. There's the odd shower around through Sunday across Greece in particular. But high pressure really is dominating next week to bring plenty of sunshine and temperatures in the high 20s. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, Sunday is promising to be a warmer day for many of us, particularly in the east in any sunshine, but there will be some further spells of rain in the north and the west. So today's area of low pressure now clearing away into the southern parts of the North Sea, but it's this wiggling weather front that will start to push in as we go through the course of tonight and into Sunday. So whilst it will turn a little bit dry through the course of this evening for most of us, even some clear spells, particularly across parts of England and Wales, we'll continue to see further outbreaks of rain and low cloud affecting parts of North East Scotland, and some heavier outbreaks of rain pushing back into Northern Ireland by the end of the night. But for most, it turns drier, and further east, we'll see some clear spells. So temperatures perhaps could dip into kind of high single figures in some rural areas. But across North East Scotland, we'll hold on to quite a lot of low clouds and quite murky conditions as well. Some outbreaks of rain and drizzle for Shetland and Orkney first thing on Sunday morning. Some more persistent rain pushing back into southwest Scotland, so parts of Ayrshire and Argyll, for example, and certainly Northern Ireland as well. Some heavy bursts of rain developing here through the morning. The odd spit and spot of rain or light shower across parts of Wales and the southwest, but actually many areas of England and Wales will begin the day on Sunday with a lot of dry weather, and actually some hazy sunshine for eastern England and eastern Scotland for a time on Sunday too. So here that should help to lift those temperatures, and actually a much warmer day to come, perhaps by the afternoon temperatures into the low 20s for many. Further west, though, we continue to see spells of rain pushing in from the Atlantic, particularly across Northern Ireland, northwest England and western Scotland. Some heavy bursts of rain here, but a warmer day nonetheless, 18 or 19 degrees in the north and the west. The rain pushes southeastwards on Sunday night, so a wet day to come for many parts of England and Wales. Some heavy bursts of rain at times pushing their way slowly eastwards, so pretty damp and soggy picture for much of the day in the east and the southeast. Brighter skies with showers follow, and that sets the scene for the week ahead. Quite unsettled and cool, showery, and temperatures a little bit below average.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB loyalty points are here. They're our way of saying thank you for spending time with GB News. Through commenting on your say, voting in You Decide polls and shaping the debate, you can earn GB loyalty points. Unlock rewards, reach milestones and climb leaderboards. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be part of them. Get started by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/loyalty points.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five. Lots of comments about Herma. Some of them I can't read out on air. But Helen says, who is a member of GB News, thank you very much, Helen. It's not very British, Herma, to prosecute our veterans years later for only obeying orders. Absolutely, he had a real vendetta against our veterans. And Tilly makes the same point. Is it the British way, which is what the Attorney General's office said, to treat British veterans the way you are? A very good point.
I agree.
Now, please continue getting in contact at gbnews.com/your say. We'll get to some more of your messages later on. But first of all, though, we're going to have a look at some of the best triggered tantrums of the week. Renee, you're up first.
Oh, I'm up first, am I? OK. So, actress Rosamund Pike was on the stage in the West End, and her final part was a very serious emotional part. She did that, she got her standing ovation, she went off stage and she came back for what everybody thought was a, an encore. Have a look.
Just as Harry was confessing and was on the floor, was texting in this part, you know who you are, and I'm not going to single you out, but just that we do see these, we do feel them. I've got you, I feel like I have to hold you all, and so when
So she berated the audience for texting during this most serious and emotional part of the show. A woman after my own heart. I am sick and tired of these selfish idiots who get their phone out in the most inappropriate places, play them on loud. You're in a dark cinema, they've got their lights on, just as they rummage through their popcorn. I've had enough. Well said, Rosamund.
I agree, Renee, with the sentiment entirely, but really, what is she going to achieve by doing that?
No one wins war with that kind of defeatist attitude.
But I bet they did. They were shamed into putting their phones away, I imagine.
Yeah, that was after the show ended.
But maybe they won't do it next time.
Exactly, and one theatre at a time. You know, that the theatre going public.
I want to go to war with
maybe
him.
Keep their phone doom scrolling for another hour.
It's just selfishness. Nobody thinks of anyone else.
I don't understand why in the cinema nobody does that. Obviously, because they come down and eat like a ton of bricks.
I think
but they tend to watch you and think you're doing some sort of
joking.
counterfeit thing. But in theatres and like concerts and God knows what, people are not in the moment. They're on their phones in the moment.
I think the saddest thing is if you're at a big concert or an event and all you see in front of you is a sea of people with their phones up.
And a lot of artists are saying, please put your phone away and enjoy the moment.
Because it's ridiculous. That moment will be available on the internet somewhere else. You don't need to film it.
Well, it won't be available if nobody films it.
Well,
I mean, I have a bit more sympathy for that. But I think it's a matter of balance, like all things. Like taking a quick video and then
I hadn't considered the irony that someone was using their phone to film her saying, "Don't use your phones."
Yes.
Well,
that's true. All right, Will?
If you are a GB News devotee, you no doubt would have already seen this, but it would be wrong of us not to put this in the Hall of Fame of triggered tantrums. This is the great Ben Leo dealing with one of the most epic triggered tantrums you have ever seen.
Answer that question. Answer that question. Answer that question. How do the Brits get their power?
Can you stop spitting in my face? What was the question?
He's speaking.
Why are you shaking? Why are you getting so angry?
Because my drone is going and I'm holding everything back not to break your jaw.
God, dear.
Well, I think in many ways, when we think about the modern left, that speaks for itself, but that is an absolute masterclass from Ben Leo in dealing with a hostile situation as a journalist and keeping your cool. The stones on that bloke, unbelievable.
Oh, yeah, I said he has broadcasting balls. I used a different word, but I won't say it on air.
But you do notice in clips like that how kind the left really are, don't you?
Absolutely, you do. Tolerant, compassionate, accepting, open. You know, where they said, how did you get here? I loved that. And he said aeroplane.
Yeah, that's right.
But honestly, Kai, you are such nice people.
Yeah, and you know just how nonsensical it is for you all to say, oh, isn't this epitomises the modern left? It does the exact opposite, actually. If you have a functioning brain, what it does is show you that, yes, there are extremists in every kind of movement, and just in the same way that you wouldn't like me using a neo-Nazi as proof that the modern right is a really extreme grouping of people, that is completely uncalled for, to say that that person is representative of the modern left.
OK.
I think they are.
And you know what? You did all of that without security as well, and you kept going. You know,
that is incredible when you think of it, actually, because he looks so cool and so calm. And I always think anytime you get angry, you lose.
He wouldn't have been inside.
Mad or brilliant. Right, Trey, what have you got coming up for us?
So, coming up, I'm going to be talking about the madness of Zia Yusuf's latest tweet. Definitely stay tuned for that.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Just talk us through, if you would, because it is fascinating, just the level, the intensity of the bombardment that London, in particular, was facing during that period of time. How long did it last for, and, you know, how intense was it?
Thank you, Mark. Hi again, Anne. Nice to see you.
Lovely to see you.
The whole point about the book, Mark, is that you mentioned London there, and of course, that's the reality of what most people think. They think London, a few months between around Christmas 1940, that was the Blitz. But that's not the story that I'm telling. I'm telling the story that, you know, GB News would tell, which is the story of the whole nation. So not London, we're talking about Coventry, people will remember that. We're talking about Glasgow, we're talking about Aberdeen, we're talking about Exeter. And I'm telling the story of the war. So yes, thousands were killed in London during those few months, dreadful months in around Christmas 1940. But 60,000 civilians perished during the whole course of the war. And again, we talk about when the Blitz started, when the Blitz ended. If you were being bombed in Glasgow or you are being bombed in Newcastle, so that image you've got on screen now is my mum's hometown. That is the picture of an air raid shelter in my mum's hometown. And if she'd been in that shelter, I wouldn't be with you today. But I found a survivor.
Where is it?
So that is in North Shields, on the banks of the Tyne as you come down outside Newcastle. So that image that you've got there, that kind of sparked the story that I tell of the nation in the book.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five. Nobody was harmed during the commercial break. Now, James, though, says, apropos of nothing, I feel sorry for all of the children born to left-wing parents.
I just cut and pasted that one.
It made me laugh during the breeze. And Kai, the incident epitomises the modern left. The rhetoric of agree with me or I'll hurt you is all too common from the lefty loons.
Yeah, no, I'm picking up some comments from the viewers. That's the left's tactic, close down the conversation. It seems to ignore, Renee, the fact that you are watching a show where week in, week out, the left come to debate these discussions.
We have to have you.
I mean, I don't think, to my knowledge, I've never resorted to violence, even with Will Kingston.
Kai, I have actually a strange feeling that you're moving from the left, shockingly, somewhere around the centre. So I actually don't think you are the best representation of the left.
You know why? Because I started paying tax.
And I think a few people on your side... A few people on your side started making a few nice comments about him and he lapped it up and he went, oh, I want more of this.
I've got two in relation to you. The first one is from Alison Collum, who says, Darren, say scooter.
Scooter.
OK. And the next one is Barry Bailey, who says, Darren, were you a fan of Bill Haley in the comments by any chance, looking at your kiss curl tonight?
Oh, yes. Well, I don't know who that is, so I shan't respond to it. But
I like that. Scooter.
Chris City says, spicy show tonight, guys, and I have a feeling that after Trey's performance, it ain't going to get any less
any milder.
So, Trey,
yes,
take it
absolutely.
away.
So, I'm going to share something here with you guys that I've actually not even shared with many close friends. So, this Valentine's Day, I was in Dubai on holiday on a nice romantic getaway with my wife, and I'd previously had a blood test, and so we had to do a MRI scan, and after the MRI scan, I was told that I had cancer. Now, of course, when you hear those words, cancer, your brain just goes everywhere. You know, my son wasn't even 1 year old yet, and I was thinking, my God, I'm going to have to live the rest of won't even be here for the rest of his life. It was absolutely agonising. I spent weeks and weeks after that having to do tests and tests and tests. And thank God, actually, to Dr. Renee here, who was absolutely incredible. And thank you for that, Dr. Renee. She actually directed me to one of the best hospitals in the land. I got further tests done, and thankfully they said it was very, very, very unlikely. So for me to then hear the comments by Zia Youssef was absolutely disgusting and disgraceful. You can see it over there. Conflating the fact that there is this study that's happening where black men of a certain age, of my age group, are being invited to get screening with some sort of two-tier system, I actually found it actually hurtful, if I'm really, really honest, because only a couple of months before I got this diagnosis, a cousin of mine died. In fact, I know so many black men that have passed away and so many of them that actually lived with it. But if you know, as Dr. Rennie will attest, some of the after effects are horrible for that. The fact that he used that as part of this culture war, you know, in terms of the death of Henry, the sad death, as some sort of evidence of a two-tier system, I found just absolutely moronic and disgusting, and I think that's why all of this sort of rhetoric desperately needs to end.
All right. Can we bring the tweet back up again, please? Because I just want to read it out for listeners on radio who might not know what he said. He said, on the day that the whole political establishment claims we do not live in... I'm trying to read this with my eyes.
Don't ask me.
We do not live in a two-tier country. They announce this. So he's making the point that it's the wrong time to announce it, Trey. Do you accept
that? Well, basically what he was saying is that the fact that drugs are only going to be available to black men and not white men was racist, which completely misrepresented the whole thing.
That didn't come across to me. Yeah. Is he not arguing about the timing?
Yeah. Well,
no, almost what he was saying is a bit like this. It's like, how dare women are the only ones that get cervical cancer screening? No. Why don't we get it? It's not fair. It's some sort of evidence.
Because I know the left don't want to believe this, but men don't have a cervix.
Yeah, but it's the exact same thing.
Oh, David Lammy said you can grow one.
But listen.
Cheerfully withdrawn.
Black men are twice as likely to have prostate cancer and 4 times more likely to die from it. And to be honest, the findings from this study will actually help all men over a certain age. So the fact that he would use it as an example, I think it did him a disservice. And what I liked about it, he was rightly condemned by almost everyone. And that actually made me feel joyous, I have to admit.
I think he was condemned by everyone in your algorithm.
Including Dr. Renee, because Dr. Renee has got an opinion on this.
I thought it was a moronic tweet. I thought it wasn't necessary. I thought there was enough going on about the two-tier police and Henry that we didn't need to have someone try and skew something that actually isn't what he says it is. We do know that black men get prostate cancer twice as often as white men, and it tends to be the more aggressive one. So therefore, as screening is not perfect in prostate cancer, and when you have screening, You have to treat 22 men for a cancer that they didn't need treatment for to treat one that did. It makes sense to limit the screening to those who get it.
So Yusuf was entirely correct in what he said. I feel bad for your loss, Trey, of your cousin and for the awful period that you went through. But the reality is, on the optics point, optically it was an absolutely ridiculous time to put out a race-based pilot for a healthcare policy. In the same week, we're talking about racial hierarchies in institutions in this country.
What?
From a political... Stop and let me finish. I'm so sick of you interrupting. The people here are more interested in what I have to say than what you have to say. Now, it is the wrong timing to say that you put in racially based hierarchies when we have the Henry Novak thing going on. But the other thing is, there are many diseases and syndromes and problems that disproportionately affect white people. Testicular cancer, 4 to 5 times more. I know Renee will say you can't screen for it. You can still do a self-screening. If there was an awareness campaign, for example, around this, they could say that you should be aware of how you self-test for testicular cancer, but you would never, ever hear those awareness campaigns just targeted at white people.
You know what?
That's why it is two-tiered.
It sounds like he was doing a self-screening as he was speaking. I've never heard so much balls in my life. I mean, come on, it's absolute nonsense what you've said. Okay. So they should delay what? Onto that happens, then wait until JD Vance is tweeting and then wait until it dies down. Someone could have died in that time.
Stop.
What has it got to do with it?
Stop. Just say...
It's nonsense.
Just say that this is about men. It's not about racial groups within the male...
This is about medical screening based on evidence. It has nothing to do with any silly little cultures that you're talking about. It should never be delayed if it saves lives.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
Let me just say something.
Can I ask you a question?
Had they not come back to me and said, Trey, so we got bad news, I'd now be sitting with, maybe not even sat with you guys, and looking at the fact that my son's going to grow up without a father. You think that type of vital information should be delayed in some way? That's absolutely nonsense.
There was a spicy word that was used during proceedings, so I do apologise if anyone was offended by said spicy word. We've got loads more to come on the show tonight, including Kai and Renee's. Well, what are they going to say?
Do you want
the
to
mind
know?
boggles. Not yet. All right, see you after this.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, Sunday is promising to be a warmer day for many of us, particularly in the east in any sunshine, but there will be some further spells of rain in the north and the west. So today's area of low pressure now clearing away into the southern parts of the North Sea, but it's this wiggling weather front that will start to push in as we go through the course of tonight and into Sunday. So whilst it will turn a little bit dry through the course of this evening for most of us, even some clear spells, particularly across parts of England and Wales, we'll continue to see further outbreaks of rain and low cloud affecting parts of north east Scotland, and some heavier outbreaks of rain pushing back into Northern Ireland by the end of the night. But for most, it turns drier, and further east, we'll see some clear spells. So temperatures perhaps could dip into kind of high single figures in some rural areas. But across northeast Scotland, we'll hold on to quite a lot of low clouds and quite murky conditions as well. Some outbreaks of rain and drizzle for Shetland and Orkney first thing on Sunday morning. Some more persistent rain pushing back into southwest Scotland, so parts of Ayrshire and Argyll, for example, and certainly Northern Ireland as well. Some heavy bursts of rain developing here through the morning. The odd spit and spot of rain or light shower across parts of Wales and the southwest, but actually many areas of England and Wales will begin the day on Sunday with a lot of dry weather, and actually some hazy sunshine for eastern England and eastern Scotland for a time on Sunday too. So here that should help to lift those temperatures, and actually a much warmer day to come, perhaps by the afternoon temperatures into the low 20s for many. Further west, though, we continue to see spells of rain pushing in from the Atlantic, particularly across Northern Ireland, northwest England and western Scotland. Some heavy bursts of rain here, but a warmer day nonetheless, 18 or 19 degrees in the north and the west. The rain pushes southeastwards on Sunday night, so a wet day to come for many parts of England and Wales. Some heavy bursts of rain at times pushing their way slowly eastwards, so pretty damp and soggy picture for much of the day in the east and the southeast. Brighter skies with showers follow, and that sets the scene for the week ahead. Quite unsettled and cool, showery, and temperatures a little bit below average.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. Put a new car on the drive or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5, the UK's biggest Saturday night telly show. I'm Darren Grimes, and I'm still alongside Will Kingston, Dr. Renee, Trey Lowe, and Kai will show tonight on the show.
Well, on an important day, we will ask, are we doing enough to protect our veterans?
70 MPs show their contempt for women.
Well, I think...
Was it yes or no, Mr Lammy? Would you take the knee for Henry Novak?
I think no.
Oh dear, David Lammy exposes the hypocrisy of the left.
And Gareth Southgate has been talking sense. We do need to treat boys differently.
Yes, and I'll be saying my message to the MAGA political arsonists, leave our country alone, we don't want your trash.
Oh dear, and they'll be saying, who? It's 7 p.m, and this is the Saturday 5. Welcome to the Saturday 5. Of course, we want your views as well, much more important than our gob. Send your views and post your comments by visiting gbnews.com/your say. And Dr. Renee is very keen for you to get your Ask the Fives in. Make clear it's your Ask Your Five, because she's going to answer them, all of them, I've decided.
But ask the 5 before when you put it in the email.
All right, my friends, before we start tearing each other apart, here's your Saturday night news with superstar Bethany Elsey.
Darren, thank you. Good evening. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 7:01. Sir Keir Starmer will host the leaders of Ukraine, France and Germany at number 10 tomorrow to discuss ongoing support for Ukraine in its war with Russia. It follows a week of heightened hostilities between the two sides. Today, Ukraine launched a large-scale drone attack on St. Petersburg in retaliation to Moscow's strikes on 3 districts overnight, in which 1 person was killed. On Friday, Vladimir Putin rejected a proposal to meet Volodymyr Zelensky for face-to-face talks. 4 more men have admitted charges of violent disorder after police came under attack during protests in response to Henry Novak's death. Clashes erupted between protesters and police in Southampton on Tuesday over the 18-year-old student's treatment by police. The teenager was handcuffed while he lay dying in the street after his killer falsely claimed he'd been racially abused by him. 11 people have been charged in relation to the disorder. Meanwhile, Downing Street has accused JD Vance of trying to stir up division after he blamed what he calls the mass invasion of migrants for Henry's murder. His family have repeatedly said they don't want his death to be used to create further division. The businessman David Sullivan has resigned as chairman of West Ham with immediate effect. The 77-year-old says he's leaving the role after 16 years to fight what he calls false allegations about his private life. It's after he was made aware of the upcoming publication of serious historic allegations. Mr. Sullivan says he categorically denies the claims. Some of the last surviving D-Day veterans have been commemorating the 82nd anniversary of the invasion. Nearly 160,000 Allied troops landed in northern France on the 6th of June 1944, laying the foundations for victory over Nazi Germany. This year's events are the first since almost 100 more names were added to the British Normandy Memorial. The King's nephew, Peter Phillips, has married Harriet Spurling, an NHS nurse in the Gloucestershire countryside. Members of the public gathered outside All Saints Church in Kemble and cheered as the bride arrived. The King and Queen, Prince and Princess of Wales, and the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh all attended the wedding, as well as the groom's mother, Princess Anne, of course. It's understood Meghan and Harry were not invited to the event. Princess Beatrice and Eugenie were also there. It's the first time the sisters have been seen together at a royal event since their father's arrest. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor no longer attends public events with the royal family. And in tennis, Mira Andreeva has won the women's singles at the French Open, securing her first ever Grand Slam title. The 19-year-old Russian's 6-3, 6-2 victory makes her the youngest women's champion in Paris since Monica Seles back in 1992. You're up to date for now. I'll have more for you in an hour.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
It's Saturday night and you're with the Saturday 5. I'm Darren Grimes and I can promise that you're in for a very lively hour. Unfortunately, Kai is going to kick things off. No, I'm joking, Kai, I'm joking. What have you got for us tonight?
Am I off the hook?
Yeah, you are.
Oh, no, you weren't
get him out
joking
the way.
about that. No, my message to MAGA's divisive rhetoric is hands off. We don't want it. Now, in a vacuum, the JD Vance comments this week might be seen as noble, righteous. Many of us might agree with some of the prescriptions he has, but it's not happening in a vacuum. Number one, this comes at a time where the Trump administration is running roughshod over American democracy, clamping down over civil liberties, on the press, federalizing the National Guard, breaking down many of the institutions that made America great. It should call into question, when they say they want to save the West, what kind of West the Trump administration believes it is saving. Number two, what's clear is that the United States geopolitics is now trying to rearm a new right wing of Europe. This is a sort of an international project, be under no illusion. In the national security strategy put out by the State Department, it says cultivating resistance to Europe's current trajectory within European nations is one of its key objectives in Europe. And so It's only the beginning, but this is what's already public. The State Department hosting Tommy Robinson for a tour earlier this year, crowdsourcing targets for deportations, Trump falsely accusing London and Sadiq Khan of imposing Sharia law, legal defence funds for the AfD and other far-right parties across Europe, Elon Musk wading into almost every argument that he can, sending hard-right influencers who have called for public executions of immigrants, sending them over to the ironically named Unite the Kingdom rally. This is all that is public, not even the sinister things that are happening behind closed doors. So yes, you can look at those comments by JD Vance and think, he's right, I agree with him about this tragedy, but be under no illusion and do not be duped. The intentions are much more sinister. So I say to MAGA patriots, so-called patriots, hands off our country and focus on your own.
Kai, a question. Why wouldn't you put opposing left-wing European parties as part of your national security strategy? Left-wing parties spend less on defence on average. Left-wing parties let in more illegal and legal migrants on average, which leads to more crime. Left-wing parties generally mean that you have less patriotism in the country, which means less people would want to serve in a war. Left-wing parties are dangerous. It is completely sensible that the American government would say for a safer world you want to have right-wing parties in Europe.
Just to that could be as easily an argument for regime change in any part of the world, Will. You could use that rationale. It is just so nonsense.
Where did they say regime change?
A lapdog to this authoritarian government over in the United States. And I think that lots of people here in the UK need to be very careful. Just because you agree with some of what Trump and the Trump administration is doing, it does not mean that you allow...
They never said regime change.
Meddling in our country.
On that point, most people disagree with my views on President Trump and JD Vance for that matter. Most people in Britain disagree with my views on that. But Bibi says, Kai, this is America's business. I welcome Vance's comments. They're clearly coming from a place of care. Now, my point would be on this. As far as foreign policy is concerned, it is in the United States' interest for the United Kingdom to not become a nation that is completely overran with illegal migration, or in fact, for that matter, migration full stop, because it does change the country. The country is changing. Nobody consented to it. America can see what's happening in Britain. They don't like the direction it's heading in as a key strategic ally, and they're saying, do not go down this road. And they're saying it on a day like D-Day, when we are at risk of losing every single semblance of who we are as a nation. I genuinely believe that. JD Vance genuinely believes that. So I don't think you have a right to criticise and actually call out his intentions on this as being anything other than noble.
I have every right to call that out.
Of course you do. Let me have a go now, please. You've had a long monologue. You are absolutely right that you have every right. Of course you do, because that's called freedom of speech. But what you're doing is you are looking at this from the leftist perspective, and you don't like any of the things that are being said, not by Vance, not by people here on this side of the table. So you don't want it to happen. And yet, when Labour send 100 MPs and councillors over to the States to campaign for the Democrats, that's OK.
Renee, and I've seen... I do want to address that, because I've seen lots of viewers talk about this. Since time immemorial, on right-wing parties too, sending volunteers in their own free time to campaign, knocking on doors, it has been happening all the time. We do it with the European Party, and it happens on both sides of the spectrum.
Sitting MPs.
So both to talk about it as a left-wing issue is nonsense, but also to talk about it as if it's foreign interference is nonsense. Because you know the difference. Will, you know the difference between sending volunteers of a political party over to a country to campaign versus using the apparatus of a state like the United States, like the Department of Homeland Security, like its security apparatus, to interfere in elections and in other countries' domestic matters. Those are obviously different things. If you think they're the same, you're going nuts.
No, I don't think they're the same, because obviously it is more impactful to campaign for a political party than to send out a tweet.
We're not just talking about sending out a tweet, Will. You know that. I've just listed some examples, but there's plenty more happening in terms of dark money funneling over to the United Kingdom and other countries across Europe.
Oh, yeah.
This is by design, and I appreciate...
And the George Soroses of this world don't do the opposite.
I appreciate that some viewers, right, think that JD Vance and others have our best interests at heart because they agree with some of the sentiments of what he is saying. Do not be duped. It is not the case.
I have to admit, from my point of view, and Kai, you may not necessarily like this, I think, you mentioned Soros. I think we've also had some of the more extreme sort of leftist type identity and stuff coming from America as well. And as much as I don't want to agree with what these guys are saying, they're kind of right. We can't then hate the fact that Vance and a lot are doing it. When the left did it, a lot of this ideology stuff and a lot of these cultural stuff came from America. It just did. It was the same sort of thing. And these guys are right. You just may not like it because it doesn't fit with your political ideology. It doesn't with mine. I don't like it either. But some of the left stuff has equally been damaging.
But there's a
honestly,
difference.
if I'm really being honest.
I agree. I think, for instance...
BLM was definitely harnessed by the Democrats in America.
Yeah, for instance...
They blew that window over here to us.
For instance, I agree that one of the greatest mistakes of the modern left was to import some ridiculous race culture war from the States that actually fails to recognise that here in the UK, we'd be much better suited focusing on class as a differentiator or poverty as something that impacts people's life chances more than race, which really wasn't a big debate here. But what I'm saying is there's a difference between a concerted funded campaign by a state in a country versus what you're talking about. I think that just happened
But I think Will's right, though. So people like Soros have funded lots of things that have permeated lots of levels of the state that has equally introduced a lot of this stuff. I have to agree. We just don't like it because I don't like what they stand for. But I equally didn't like aspects of what the far left type stuff is.
Kai,
equally divisive.
Yep. Kai, how about Obama supporting the Brexit campaign?
I thought you...
I
thought you might raise that as well. In one speech, he talked about the impact of trade links and whether the UK would be the front of a queue for a deal afterwards.
He would take you to the back of the queue.
Yeah, well, that's just a statement of fact, isn't it?
No.
Can you not really see the difference?
Since then?
Well, it has, because where's that trade deal?
No, it has not happened.
I mean,
since
come on,
then.
Darren. Come on, Darren.
For example, tariffs on whiskey in Scotland, they have been reduced for the first time under President Trump.
Right. And an exception was carved out after he whacked massive tariffs on us before that.
And
an exception was carved out, thankfully,
lower tariffs
for the
than
Scottish
he did on the European Union.
Yes, because of the relationship, like a lumpet, that Keir Starmer began to build with Trump before they fell out recently. That was literally the direct result. That's why we had lower tariffs, Darren, you know that.
Or it's because, actually, the UK's domestic economy can be tailored to meet a trade deal much easier than it can an entire 27 EU.
But yes, I agree with that. There have been... You'd be ridiculous not to accept there have been modest wins from Brexit. But they pale in comparison.
Then that it's complete falsity. But Darren, what Obama said was a lie and it was actually a distortion of the truth in order to try and persuade... not to persuade the British people, to bully them, frankly.
The back of a queue for a trade deal has a trade deal materialised? No.
It has.
It's entirely consistent.
In sectors, it has.
What he said 10 years ago is entirely consistent. But also, I think there's a fundamental difference between talking about trade ties and talking about the state of free speech and policing in a country.
I think tonight you should just admit for the first time that your argument was built on a base of sand and it's collapsed.
Yeah. Not really, because I've been able to defend everything you've thrown at
it.
I
think there's a solid argument.
The BLM protest, Keir Starmer and David Lammy both said that President Trump's response was absolutely disgusting, or words to that effect. What is that, if not interfering in US domestic politics?
Yeah, I don't think they should have said that. I think that often, they do comment on things. But what I'm saying is that I think... I think it was wrong, but I think that what I'm trying to say is that what J.D. Vance is doing, this comment is just the peak of the iceberg. There's so much more happening.
Renee,
quite worrying.
Renee, your comment got me thinking. The problem with left-wing politics is that it forces adherents to take incredibly stupid positions, and then they look even more stupid when they eventually have to abandon those positions. That's what you saw with Lammy when he was thinking, we were stupidly taking the knee 5 years ago in a situation where there was a mass hysteria, and now when there's a comparable situation and we realise how stupid it is, how do I get out of this?
Oh, it's a pandemic.
No, I don't think I will, actually.
I don't think you have to symbolic gestures.
Yeah, you have to look stupid almost by definition if you want to take left-wing positions.
I don't think that's
I think that's nonsense. I think
state things. You can't just be like, this left-wing thing.
I literally can.
No, well, I mean, I just don't really understand the point you're making.
No, it doesn't surprise me.
No, I think
I
fundamentally, I think it's right. It's sinister, and I think there's more for it to come. I just like the fact that they're not very popular over here, and I don't think they will be the J.D. Vances and the Trumps of this world. And that gives me hope, because I think it's all divisive, whether it's coming from the right or the far left. It's all divisive as far as I'm concerned.
I think you might be very surprised.
Yeah, kumbaya. Let's all hold hands.
Yeah, do you know what? I think actually the British people over the last week, I've noticed a total mood change.
Yeah.
The mood has just changed in the country, and maybe they're more in tune with the mood than the likes of Keir Starmer, Lord Hermer and David Whammy. Sorry, Lammy. I beg your pardon, that wasn't deliberate. Please don't Ofcom me. Kai, on the particular point, though, about... Is this a case of you just having your lefty cake and eating it because you don't mind interventions? Ignore whether or not what Obama said was right or wrong. The intervention in itself, and then the intervention of Soros, etc. You've never raised any problem with anything that has happened in that regard, but as soon as someone whose politics with which you disagree gets involved, because you're a big fan of Nancy Pelosi for some strange reason, you must have hit your head as a child, you really like her, and that to me smacks of the kind of hypocrisy that our viewers notice. That you don't challenge that foreign intervention or that kind of foreign intervention. But as soon as,
Two-tier lefties.
What foreign intervention?
Well, the foreign
Pelosi
intervention of Obama, the foreign intervention of...
Darren, it's amazing that you reach for something that happened 10 years ago.
George Soros didn't happen 10 years ago.
A sentence in a speech. Look, I'm not over what George Soros has done or not done, right? I don't know the details of that. That's not what we're talking about. And yes, I don't think it's hypocritical, because it is stated in State Department documents, as I mentioned earlier, that the US now, state policy, the most powerful country on earth, has decided that one of its priorities is to intervene to favour certain political parties in our countries over others. How can you sit there and tell me that I'm being a hypocrite because Obama said one line 10 years ago about a bilateral trade relationship that impacts both countries, and you're telling me that I am being hypocritical because I don't put that on an equal footing to the entirety of the US state, the entirety of the US state trying to benefit parties like yours. And that's why you don't mind it, is because it's to your benefit, Darren.
Well, I'll open up my bank account to you and you'll see that that's very much not the case. I haven't got a pot to piddle in. But the thing is, Kai, ultimately, I think that actually the rank hypocrisy is evident in what, if we take in isolation what the moment we're going through right now as a country with the George Floyd moment, where Keir Starmer felt comfortable to criticise Donald Trump in the US domestic policy terms, and you didn't say then, I don't recall seeing any tweets. Should I go through your Twitter account?
I don't tweet very much.
You saying, Keir Starmer, you shouldn't get involved in US politics.
Well, look...
All right, we're going to move on anyway. You had your chance.
You just very well. It's my time.
All right, Renee, I've been asked to do something many men have wanted to say. Tease me, Dr. Renee.
Oh, I will. So I'm going to tell you about the 70 MPs that have decided that 0.5%, that tiny amount of people they tell us about, are so much more important than women to them.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get us on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis, in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it? We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Right, we're going to get straight into it because we've all had enough of Kai.
Yes.
Renee, take it away.
Well, Kai's going to love this one as well. After the Supreme Court ruled that only women are women and biology actually matters, Labour finally published the trans guidance. You know, blokes with male bits stay out of women's spaces. It's as simple as that, groundbreaking. But wait. The loony left can't cope, they're in meltdown. Hard left Corbynista Nadia Whitcomb has tabled an early day motion to bin the whole thing. Signed by 70 deranged MPs, 33 of them Labour, 29 of them Lib Dems. The usual rainbow suspects on the end, who would have known? Whitcomb whines on that it's a profound rollback of rights and demands more laws that force men into women's spaces. Let that sink in. These clowns want to screw over 51 of the population, actual women, to pander to what they say is a minute 0.5% of confused men in dresses who demand access to our toilets, our changing rooms and our sports. Newsflash MPs, you represent constituents, not the pronouns brigade. This isn't just rude, it's an insult, it's dangerous, it's an attempt to dismantle a century of hard-won women's rights. The madness isn't dead, sadly, it's throwing another tantrum.
Wow. Well.
No one, look, lots have I won. Should we go on?
You have. That was
just very short.
Do you not think, Kai, do you not think that it's absolutely wrong of our elected MPs to be actively working against 51% of their constituents? Because that is what they're doing.
I don't think that is what they're doing, Dr. Renee. I don't think that having issues with this guidance, which, you know, has come out finally and gives at least some basis for us to have this discussion about what practical steps can be taken out of the Supreme Court guidance. But I don't think it's wrong of them to want to have a discussion around whether those steps are proportionate, are the right ones, make the right provisions without putting women at risk. And nobody wants to put women at risk, I don't think, of the MPs in our parliament, but do want to ensure that trans people are afforded the kind of dignity that, frankly, they had more of before this whole debate about toilets kicked off. The ruling itself, the guidance itself says it's very unlikely to be proportionate to put a trans person in a position where there's no service they're allowed to use safely. And the chair herself of the HRC has said we have to have a common sense approach because, you know, nobody previously was policing who can go into toilets.
Well, they didn't have to because people did what they were meant to do. Can I give you a ridiculous situation and ask you to justify it to me?
Fine.
Hampstead Ponds. There's a man's pond, there's a mixed pond, and there's a woman's pond that can now be used by men as well. Justify that to me. Justify to me why the trans people can't use the mixed pond.
Well, I don't think they... I think really broadly, if, for instance, a trans woman has gone through the medical procedure or is part way through it, considering the fact that there's huge delays to gender-affirming surgery, as we know...
There shouldn't be gender-affirming surgery.
Well, That's a view. Considering that there is delays, and so people are by and large much earlier on that journey, I think there should be some way that people who identify as trans women could be able to use the women's pond if they so desire.
Why are they not happy using the
because trans women are often, more at risk of being abused or of violence if they're around, if they're, using facilities with people who, at least visually or partly visually, aesthetically,
but listen,
look different.
This is where these arguments, this is what Will just said, completely fall apart. Because what you've just said is that because they look like women, they might be at risk in the mixed pond. But actually they're men, and I don't care where they are. Almost no men, about 95% of them never have surgery, by the way. Why do the women in the women's pond not justify your concern for their safety? Why?
Sorry, well, I obviously do, but I don't think that... I think I fundamentally disagree that a trans woman is a huge risk to women's safety. I think there are always men who will try to use any excuse that they can to put women's safety at risk. And I don't think this goes any further to stop it.
What if a woman in the women's changing room doesn't want to change in front of someone who under their dress is a man? What about that woman? Well, where are her rights?
Well, I think that matters, and I think that what this that does matter, and what I think this guidance hopefully begins to solve is how you can ensure that nobody feels unsafe. But there are still facilities where, for instance, toilets, right? Ideal, it'd be great if there was just cubicles like there are here in GBNews, where you can go into whichever cubicle you want. You're perfectly safe in there.
But that is separated. Yeah. It's men and women.
Yeah, but there's no functional difference. But there's no functional difference between them, Darren. Well, that was just because there was some ridiculous drive to spend...
There are sanitary products.
There are sanitary products in the women's.
Right, and did anybody notice when I used the women's toilets in there the other day?
Well, no, but I go
because obviously they're just in the same room. But anyway, it's not about this.
This is the left, and there was a brilliant article in Labour Heartlands actually last week about you are trying to keep us focused on toilets deliberately so that you can say, look, come on, you're being unreasonable, there's cubicles, you're being nasty. Just let the trans women in your toilets. It's not about toilets. This is about the underlying, behind the toilets, ignore that, the underlying erasure of women and women's rights. We're not allowed to call ourselves mothers or women when it comes to pregnancy anymore. We are pregnant people. We are chest feeders. We have cervixes instead of being called women for a smear. That is the erasure of women.
Yeah, and I don't think that's right. But I think, actually, I think that there has to be a way to safeguard both the safety, but also, to your point, the dignity of women who are born women.
I've been desperate to make this point, so I am going to abuse the position of chair. The progressive left, right, Kai, which you purport to be, have been, for a long time, championing the rights of women, right? Female progress. And the trade unions in the fire brigade service have pandered to the trans debate. So since, 1970, we've allowed women into the fire service, right? To be firewomen or, firemen, I guess you just call them. Firefighters, whatever you want to call yourself. Fire they, them, maybe. But they've been allowed in. Now, their rights and their access to single-sex spaces when they get changed or whatever else are being eroded by a trade union that's suggesting that it'll be a good thing if they allow men to get changed in there with them. You can see where the progress that's being made as far as female safety is concerned is being eroded by, frankly, nefarious men who want to access women's spaces.
That has nothing to do with that. I just do not believe that that is anything to do with the trans debate. I'm being honest. I'll be honest. I think you are confusing, perhaps on purpose, two things: that men will take any advantage they can to rape and violently abuse women, and that the idea of letting trans people access, as you said, a small minority of people to access services that conform with how they want to be seen or how they identify.
I want to be seen as a teenager. Do you think they'll let me into the school sport?
But Renee, do you not accept that you can take any measures to protect women as much as you can, and maybe that would make fine, even if we go as far as possible, make it as hostile as possible for trans people, don't accept that they exist, whatever, and still women would be raped in toilets by men.
I'm not.
And in same-sex spaces.
This is the
Because they will
straw
find
man
the example.
gaslighting argument because.
But is it?
Yes, and
But
this
is
is why.
it?
Well, let me tell you why. We know that most violence against women is perpetrated by men, but very few men. Not all men are rapists. I would assume most of you here are not rapists, but we don't know if that's 100% true. So what do? We keep you out of our spaces. Trans women are men. We must keep them out of our
you
spaces.
don't have
it's
any...
as simple as that.
Do you have any basis where you would be okay with trans
Not in my
women
space.
actually sharing space with women?
No.
Ever?
But many...
You deem them such a threat
They are
that you would
men.
say never.
It's not about the threat. It's about the rule. We keep men out of women's spaces for a
But they
reason.
don't see
Why
themselves
should
as men,
my
they're trans
daughter-
women.
I don't
They
know
see
what
themselves
they
as
see
women.
themselves as. What if you saw yourself as a disabled athlete? Do you think they'd let you run in the Paralympics?
If you see yourself as tomato, I'm not going to let you in my fruit bowl.
Why is it different? Tell me why it's different.
It's just so different. Come on, why
Tell
would you
me
compare the
why
two?
it's
There'll
different.
be lots of women who
Tell
don't mind
me-
sharing their space
tell
with trans
me- no,
women.
you're changing the
Yeah, but it's
subject.
not. It's just different.
Tell me why it's different.
Because most trans women are causing no harm whatsoever to biological women.
So you being in the Paralympics might not cause anyone harm, and you might feel much better about it. Why is it different?
Because I would not be able to pass whatever rigorous things I would need to pass in order to be seen as someone else.
being a woman either, Trey.
But Renee, those kinds of debates have already been settled by sporting bodies, and like for instance, this guidance also has different provision for single-sex spaces where it really matters on the basis of sex that facilities are provided.
Well, they haven't been settled.
No, they are.
No,
they are.
If I want
Much
to
clearer
identify as a
guidance.
disabled person and go in the Paralympics, that is not a debate that has been had or settled. This is where these arguments about some trans women really feel like women. What is the difference with me really feeling like a disabled person? What is the difference? It's a feeling. It is nothing more than a feeling.
OK, well, we'll get to some of our comments because they're coming in thick and fast on this point. But, my friends, still to come tonight, we're going to be crossing over to the United States to get their view on what J.D. Vance has said about two-tier policing in Britain.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
If you're heading away this weekend, well, you've picked a good time as high pressure dominates much of Europe. Lots of sunshine, mostly dry as well. Across the Canary Islands, temperatures climbing towards the high 20s, a little bit fresher in Madeira. But for Portugal, much of Spain, as well as Italy, as we look towards parts of Greece and Turkey too. High pressure dominates. There's the odd shower around through Sunday across Greece in particular. But high pressure really is dominating next week to bring plenty of sunshine and temperatures in the high 20s. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, Sunday is promising to be a warmer day for many of us, particularly in the east in any sunshine, but there will be some further spells of rain in the north and the west. So today's area of low pressure now clearing away into the southern parts of the North Sea, but it's this wiggling weather front that will start to push in as we go through the course of tonight and into Sunday. So whilst it will turn a little bit drier through the course of this evening for most of us, even some clear spells, particularly across parts of England and Wales, we'll continue to see further outbreaks of rain and low cloud affecting parts of North East Scotland, and some heavier outbreaks of rain pushing back into Northern Ireland by the end of the night. But for most, it turns drier, and further east, we'll see some clear spells. So temperatures perhaps could dip into kind of high single figures in some rural areas. But across North East Scotland, we'll hold on to quite a lot of low clouds and quite murky conditions as well. Some outbreaks of rain and drizzle for Shetland and Orkney first thing on Sunday morning. Some more persistent rain pushing back into southwest Scotland, so parts of Ayrshire and Argyll, for example, and certainly Northern Ireland as well. Some heavy bursts of rain developing here through the morning. The odd spit and spot of rain or light shower across parts of Wales and the southwest, but actually many areas of England and Wales will begin the day on Sunday with a lot of dry weather and actually some hazy sunshine for eastern England and eastern Scotland for a time on Sunday too. So here that should help to lift those temperatures and actually a much warmer day to come, perhaps by the afternoon, temperatures into the low 20s for many. Further west, though, we continue to see spells of rain pushing in from the Atlantic, particularly across Northern Ireland, northwest England and western Scotland. Some heavy bursts of rain here, but a warmer day nonetheless, 18 or 19 degrees in the north and the west. The rain pushes southeastwards on Sunday night, so a wet day to come for many parts of England and Wales. Some heavy bursts of rain at times pushing their way slowly eastwards, so pretty damp and soggy picture for much of the day in the east and the southeast. Brighter skies with showers follow, and that sets the scene for the week ahead. Quite unsettled and cool, showery, and temperatures a little bit below average.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. Thank you so much for getting in contact at gbnews.com/yoursay and for asking your questions in Ask the 5. There are plenty of those. Now, I'm just going to not talk about that last debate because I think Kai was about to sort of sashay out of the room at one point. Oh yeah, he'd have to be. You can't handle the heat to get out the kitchen. Now, Louise says, ask the 5. Are Keir Starmer's British values in line with the majority of British people? Kai, answer that point because you mentioned there that the topic we're going to talk about right now, JD Vance. You said JD Vance and Donald J. Trump, their views don't align with those of the British people. Well, do Keir Starmer's?
I think Keir Starmer still is living in a fantasy of a Britain that's sort of gone. And so, in many regards, he actually doesn't represent lots of what Britain believes.
Yeah.
He hasn't wised up to where we're at the minute, but...
Well, let's hear the views then that came from across the pond, because it's the hot topic debate of the night, of course. Vice President of the United States, JD Vance, blamed Henry Novak's death on the mass invasion of migrants. The comments he made in an X post, Downing Street has hit back at the comments and said that people trying to interfere in our democracy and seeking to stir up division. Strong words indeed. So to discuss this, I'm delighted to welcome Justin Young, the host of the Politics podcast from Austin, Texas. Justin, thank you very much for your company. I actually thought that my producer, the production staff there, had gotten your podcast wrong, but they're absolutely right. So I got it out in the end. Justin, thank you.
Absolutely.
Now,
Thank you for being here.
What is it that you're hearing then on the other side of the pond? Are people pleased that JD Vance has made this intervention?
Certainly for certain sections of social media, which are joined at the hip when it comes to stories like this, especially anything that involves a social justice argument, you really can't not see some of the inverse corollaries to what happened with George Floyd here in America, and that has very much animated certain elements of our social media. So JD Vance, who's a very online creature, I don't know if you guys have noticed, wading into this was not much of a shock, and also I think a bit of a look ahead, because JD Vance figures himself to be president of the United States in 2 years, and I think he would be looking at a leadership in the UK that might be close kind of philosophy that he was putting out.
Yeah, but Justin, though, if you consider that the politics in, for example, Texas, there are some commentators that say that Texas could actually swing Democrat because people are so unhappy with the Trump administration right now. Is JD Vance getting involved in British domestic politics? Because actually, as far as foreign policy is concerned for the Trump administration, it's all gone a bit, well, suboptimal.
American understanding of foreign policy is entirely A through Z or Z, totally determined at their gas pump. That's it. Nobody cares about anything else. That is the only thing. And if you are listening to anybody who is telling you that there is a meaningful push for the Democrats to win Texas, it is possible, but I would count it to be highly improbable. Even though this is a wave year, the generic ballot is tilting more in the Democrats' favor. But I would still say, while taking the House is a possibility, taking the Senate is not. And we still got a long way between now and the next presidential election. And that's really what J.D. Vance is looking toward.
All right, Justin, I'm going to bring in the rest of the panel, but I tell you what, I wish the British people cared about nothing other than the pump price at the pump. My goodness, we'd actually have some semblance of sanity in our energy policy. But Will...
Yeah, Justin, we've been discussing tonight the motives behind J.D. Vance's intervention. Now, I really like how he's framed this as a broader struggle for Western civilisation. And we've said, well, that could be an altruistic or noble imperative. At the same time, there is also pragmatic considerations. You know, is this potentially just in America's geopolitical interest to potentially promote right-wing parties in the UK and Europe? Why is he doing this?
I think you just kind of hit the nail on the head. J.D. Vance wants to, when he comes into the White House, this is obviously in his world that he is aiming toward. He wants to come into a world for which right-wing parties in the UK and Europe have taken more control than they have now. He views this as a rising tide, and he wants to meet it by the time that he is in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So this hasn't been a really widely discussed thing. In fact, J.D. Vance has kind of owned this topic when it comes to high-level White House people, but it's not outside of his wheelhouse. He likes talking about the broader civilizational challenges. He is more of a thinker in that regard, which is a bit rare for the Republican Party, which is often domestically focused. And if they are internationally focused, it's military. He's kind of soft power. He's talking about things like Western values and civilization. And I think self-hate is probably the bigger element of what he said, even than the immigration side. I think that's a policy thing, but the self-hate thing is where J.D. Vance, in his more poetic soul, I think wants to speak to with a tragedy like this.
Well, it touched a chord with me. It touched a chord with a lot of people, I think. I do think there is an element of self-hate and self-doubt, actually, within this country today. But a man that disagrees with me is Trey. Trey, do you want to ask the last question?
I mean, I don't know. How do you think J.D. Vance sort of reconciles, obviously, the fact that his wife is the daughter of migrants herself? I just wonder whether he speaks about that and how he reconciles using sort of rhetoric, talking about migrant invasions, etc.
Well, not only his wife, but he's got soon to be, I don't know where the pregnancy is at this moment, but anywhere between 3 and 4 children, all of which whom have Indian first names. You know, this is not a issue that J.D. Vance is a stranger to. He very much understands what cross-cultural elements are in the United States. That being said, he's still has marked out this territory that Western values are something that do go beyond race and religion. It is a framework that everybody has to agree to.
All right, Justin Young there, the host of the Politics podcast from Austin, Texas. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Now, still to come tonight, we're going to be looking at Gareth Southgate, who says this.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Clearly, it's a terrible loss of revenue for Mr. Bezos there, but you know, I guess it's part and parcel of the move forward to try to determine what possible anomalies there are.
Yes, it's parcel of the game, unfortunately, in rocketry and spaceflight in general. It was actually going to launch 48 satellites for Amazon next week, which obviously isn't going to happen. So they've got to try and get this solved because it is a critical element for the programme. More serious than that, though, however, is the damage that's been caused to the launch site, LC-36. This is the only launch site which can launch the New Glenn rocket. That's more serious than anything else, really, because that's got to be put back into place.
Well, that's what I was looking at, and also your very, very fetching jacket, I must say, which is very nice, very planetary. But look, I get the importance of this, but very briefly, so what? We can't do anything when we get to any of these planets anyway. We're just out there going, hey, and then we come back.
No. We could do an awful lot of work. There's a lot of research work to be done on the surface of the moon by scientists who can look at the evolution and development of the solar system, the evolution of the Earth, how the Earth actually formed initially, rare materials that we might find on the moon that we could use down here on Earth for our electronics industry. There's the development of the technologies themselves, which is all green tech, which you need on the moon, which you can use back here on Earth. To keep astronauts alive, you actually need new facilities to keep people protected against things like radiation and in difficult environments, and keeping them alive in a low gravity environment, and that's what leads to medical breakthroughs which will come back down here to the Earth. So the pushing forward of this kind of technology when we go forward actually helps our planet down here and helps the development of our species.
GB News, the People's Channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in, Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five. Now, my friends, it's time for some more triggered tantrums. Kai, I'm assuming that you're not going to show us your beaver.
I'm not.
Thank God.
But you, Darren, teased this triggered tantrum a bit earlier. You accused me of being a big fan of Nancy Pelosi for no reason whatsoever. Well, in fact, not only is she a political titan, but I also worked for Nancy Pelosi for 3 months back in the day, more than 10 years ago. And she has another amazing, amazing moment this week, proving that even at 89 years old, when you're right, you're right.
Last time I asked you about January 6th, why you turned the National Guard away on January 6th, you told me to shut up and that I was repeating Republican talking.
To shut up again because you're speaking lies.
These are just questions the American people want answers to.
No, you know what? I don't even think you're a real journalist. You work for Mike the Pillow Man?
Actually, I do, and we're very proud.
I don't consider that journalism. Mike the Pillow Man, that's not journalism. I don't have any reason to talk to you.
He'd love to give you a free pillow.
I want you to record this. I want people to know that you're not a real journalist. You work for Mike the Pillow Man, and all you do is spout untruths.
Okay.
Get away from me.
You can insult me all you want, but...
Get away from me.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Congresswoman. We'll give you my pillow so you can have a nice sleep tonight, okay?
The best moment is when the journalist offers the many-term congresswoman a free pillow from Mike the Pillow Man, also a journalist apparently, so that she can have a good night's sleep. Nancy Pelosi, I think, treating this person with the appropriate level of respect.
But hang on, though, Kai, because there are Labour politicians, you know, that say that about this august institution.
Well, they'd be wrong, I think.
I'm actually probably more on Kai's side. I would actually put GB News in a different category to, is it Mike the Pillow Man?
Mike the Pillow Man.
Mike the Pillow Man.
Yeah.
Although, when Trump is rude to journalists, which he is often, you lot are the first to scream about his unbecoming of a, a statesman, etc. But it's OK when it's that way.
Well, number one, as we just talked about, as Will was getting at, there's a difference between real journalistic outlets like... well, it was Darren who put GB News in the same bucket as Mike the Pillow Man, not me.
There are some people on the left that's
there are some people
here on our
but not me, and I'd hope not Nancy Pelosi.
Where do you draw the line? Okay, yes, we'll get Nancy
pillows are involved, I suppose.
All right, Trey, what have you got for us?
So my tantrum this week is a young woman who... She talks about actually serious issues, but she does it in a very, shouty way, which I absolutely love because she's always spot on. Let's take a look.
Why are people acting like anger and hatred are the same thing? Judging by some of the reactions I've seen, a lot of people seem to think they are. A young man lost his life. Of course people are going to be angry. It's normal. Of course people are going to be furious. I'd be worried if people weren't. But anger and hatred are not the same thing, big man.
I absolutely love this woman. I think she's absolutely brilliant, and brilliant. She's right. Anger and hatred are not the same thing. Yes, we should be angry, but the stirring of the hatred, my God, do we need to stop that?
So hang on, when Farage said that we should have cold anger, fury, that wasn't okay.
No.
That was stirring.
He said cold rage, and literally the same day we actually saw lots of...
You can't connect those two things. How do you know you wouldn't have seen that anyway?
Okay. Right. Speaking of that, though, David Lammy was with Nick Ferrari on Taking a Knee.
Was it yes or no, Mr. Lammy? Would you take the knee for Henry Novak?
I think no, because, look, I don't think that the family are asking for symbolism. They're asking for genuine common sense policing, and for them, they want to see a reduction in knife crime, and of course they're concerned about some of the policing that they saw
so
on
you
this
agree,
occasion.
taking the knee is mere symbolism, isn't it, really? It was a bit of a charade at times.
That was a moment back then when we were still in the pandemic.
Well, he's given the game away, has he not, my friends, by saying symbolism, taking the knee is symbolism. Well, it's almost like it was in 2020. Yeah.
This is the man who said that men can grow cervixes.
Yes, and he also said that Henry VIII came after, wasn't it? Or before, actually, he got it the wrong way round.
Oh, he's just a buffoon.
I'm so annoyed with the Labor Party using the Novak family as a defensive shield to try and get around these uncomfortable conversations, and that's exactly what they are doing. If the Novak family said, we want to see an end to two-tier policing and institutionalised social justice, do you think the Labor Party would be deferential and saying, yes, we must abide by their wishes? Of course they wouldn't be. It's entirely convenient for them.
And it was the Novak family, by the way, let's not forget, after that statement, who released the footage of their son dying on the street. That, to me, tells me that they do want people to know.
I think they want justice to be done. I don't think they're happy with what's going on, because it wasn't that long. I mean, I assume that they are Polish, right? The family. And it wasn't that long ago that Polish people themselves felt unsafe during
British with Polish.
Well, they might not be. I'm assuming
they're British with Polish ancestry.
Yes.
Yeah, with Polish ancestry. It wasn't that long ago that Polish people actually felt unsafe themselves. So it might be that they don't want to stir up the same with the Sikh community, many of whom now feel very, very unsafe.
All right, OK, my friends, don't go anywhere, because...
I might.
Well, actually, before
I've
I get
had
on
enough
to that,
of him.
Yes, I know. One of the comments that... Well, there's a lot of people very perplexed by your beaver obsession. And one of the comments there saying, will the left please stop talking about everyone who doesn't agree with them as being divisive? It's just a way of shutting down debate with those they disagree because they've got no logical arguments. It's also gaslighting us. Well, I'll pop your fiver in the post. Don't go anywhere. The Saturday 5 Extra coming up. We're going to let our hair down. We'll see you in a sec.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, Sunday is promising to be a warmer day for many of us, particularly in the east in any sunshine, but there will be some further spells of rain in the north and the west. So today's area of low pressure now clearing away into the southern parts of the North Sea, but it's this wiggling weather front that will start to push in as we go through the course of tonight and into Sunday. So whilst it will turn a little bit dry through the course of this evening for most of us, even some clear spells, particularly across parts of England and Wales, we'll continue to see further outbreaks of rain and low cloud affecting parts of north east Scotland, and some heavier outbreaks of rain pushing back into Northern Ireland by the end of the night. But for most, it turns drier, and further east, we'll see some clear spells. So temperatures perhaps could dip into kind of high single figures in some rural areas. But across northeast Scotland, we'll hold on to quite a lot of low clouds and quite murky conditions as well. Some outbreaks of rain and drizzle for Shetland and Orkney first thing on Sunday morning. Some more persistent rain pushing back into southwest Scotland, so parts of Ayrshire and Argyll, for example, and certainly Northern Ireland as well. Some heavy bursts of rain developing here through the morning. The odd spit and spot of rain or light shower across parts of Wales and the southwest, but actually many areas of England and Wales will begin the day on Sunday with a lot of dry weather and actually some hazy sunshine for eastern England and eastern Scotland for a time on Sunday too. So here that should help to lift those temperatures and actually a much warmer day to come, perhaps by the afternoon temperatures into the low 20s for many. Further west, though, we continue to see spells of rain pushing in from the Atlantic, particularly across Northern Ireland, northwest England and western Scotland.